welcome everybody to Freewheel Station, Season 2. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with, we're going to start with like sort of the news reports. Like maybe we get like the title card at the bottom. Like we get like a shot of the freewheel station from a distance, and we get like the title card at the bottom, freewheel station, and the date at the bottom, which is currently what?
Say that again.
What is the date? What is the current date since it's been 2 months?
We are 18 days away from what? Our third year here now? Yeah.
Okay. What is the,
I'm getting
yeah.
there. I was doing stuff on the station. It is Theras the 27th and Gosrin the 16th is when we got
All
here.
right. All right. Yeah. So this is the title card outstation, and it's like lists the drage system. Um, and we kind of get like as the camera sort of like comes in, sort of like draws closer to the freewheel station, we get like maybe like the audio from various like news reports and things about like assassination and trade embargoes announced today, complete renunciation of, and like a whole lot of and then there's like maybe a few like the mysterious disappearance and reappearance of, and the and and like something that's like just various news reports of what's of like things kind of hints of things that might be going on. And when we kind of like get close to the station, we get close, and then we drop to a black screen, and when we come up, we are on the main deck where all of the sort of like civilian stuff is at. And why don't one of you give me a description of what that looks like and how that's changed over the last 2 months?
Well, while the mall isn't at, full speed, I mean, there aren't that many people in this area that know about the mall yet. It is up and fully running. And with full staff. They haven't, got to that stage where they're like, all right, since it's this dead, we only need one of you here at a time. But everything's shiny and neon and bright as far as that goes. Though the commerce between the Paperleaf Tea Trading Company and, oh my gosh, it's been a long time since I thought about the other people.
The Gemfish Trade Consortium?
Yes, the Gemfish Trade Consortium. Uh, They both have samples outside. They're doing the whole thing. They're literally trying to smooth people every time they go by.
Huh.
And I found that kind of amusing as far as it goes. That's been happening since the very first day they opened, I'm told.
Huh.
Um, so there's that. And then, honestly, the club has been a pretty big hit. Though, once again, Voritz is not necessarily pleased with the fact that we, divided their business again.
I think it's a different enough clientele that goes to Bort's than would go to a nightclub.
Well, you got to
Mm.
remember, for a while, they were all of the restaurants in town.
Eh.
So, you know what I mean? It was bustling. Now it's just regular business. Um, and there's a what? Right now, there's a duel of Warland and Nisi that are doing DJs at night. That's pretty cool. They do all kinds of stuff. They're like, if we've heard it, we can do it again. And
Mm.
what? We've completed 2 months. We've completed the first warship and the first luxury liner because it took us a little while to get it up and running correctly. There was definitely a learning curve,
We
even
also
with
have you also managed to get the bent cage for Captain Bard and his crew up and
That's
running.
why it's only the two. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah,
Mm,
the and we'll get into that in more in a bit. But
right.
yeah, so you got a couple
I
of
think we
things,
just finished that one.
right?
Mm.
I think that yeah. So you're kind of get your and where is and where
Kib?
is Philip? Where's Philip in all of this? Like you're somewhere
Actually,
on the you're somewhere on the like main the civilian deck. Where would you be?
somewhere near the roller coaster, probably.
Roller coaster? I don't remember there being a roller coaster.
I don't
Um,
remember there not being a roller coaster. All right. It's expensive anyway. So, no, yeah, being on the main floor is fine. We'll say that I'm on my way to the office.
yeah, so maybe you're kind of like making your way to the lift to
Oh,
get you.
wait, that's important to
Well,
note as well, people. We now are the only place in this little section of the universe that can make long distance phone calls.
yeah, you yeah, you're on your way to the offices, and maybe like you're kind of like as you're passing by like in the sort of shopping center area, like one of the food stalls that so um it serves various like some kind of grilled meat of some sort of like predator from some world. You think maybe in the Loufridge system, but you're not sure. And the guy and there's like a vid screen going on. Like he's got like a sort of like the latest newscast that you have come across or that has made its way to the station and whatnot. And he's kind of uh, the guy's minding his own business, kind of doing his job. But Zerk happens to be sitting at the table as you're sort of like, or at the sort of like vendor stall, like when you're walking by, sort of like the open air patio or whatever. And as you're kind of like walking by, he kind of nods at you, and he points at the TV, and they're reporting about an important noble in the
Any yachts?
nope on the Verilax Concordance,
Oh, that
an
noble.
important well, not a noble because the Verilax Concordance is a technomagocracy, but a very important like bureaucrat in the technomagocracy of the Verilax Concordance having been killed, like somebody who's really you recognize the name as being yet one more name off of the list,
Oh,
that
really?
Gib had. So in the last two
Hmm.
months, any investigations you've had have come down to you that have been stymied a bit because in 3 cases now, something has happened to somebody that's on that list. One was a tragic accident, quote unquote, that there are a lot of people on the like sort of like a lot of people who have got videos out deconstructing it and saying, that there's conspiracy theories of what might have actually happened, because there's like a general a general from the Longtooth hegemony was killed, like a really high up in a tragic accident that seemed pretty sus. You know, there was
The
another
only reason
person,
this is weird is because it was Silver Child, right? Silver Soul.
Silver Soul. Um,
And the reason that I ask is because why does Silver Soul go, hey, isn't that no? I realized he
no,
was just nodding to the programming in general, but it was still strange.
mhm. Well, there's
It's like
a
it should have been like, hey boss, yes, Kib. Another one of the people on the list is dead. Kib, we talk about the list in the office, Kib.
no, it was a thing like there was another person like that. There was a Marixa Republic represent diplomat that went missing for a while, and this is what the video that this news report is talking about right now, and he goes. And I think Zerk says, "Isn't it interesting that it seems like there are a great number of these incredibly wealthy individuals that seem to be meeting with questionable circumstances?" And as you're watching, and he points at the vid screen, can you give me a computers check here or a perception check, whichever's better for you?
Let me bring myself up. And while I am better at perceiving things as Philip, I think my computer is better. Let me see. Yes, but just barely. Hmm. Wait, what sort of. Remember, I have a ha,
You
so
know,
let's do it this way. Well, I just got that new ability with ha, but that's just him being further away for me to do a hack.
okay.
But he can do that.
So you notice, Philip, just because you're familiar with editing software and you're familiar with programming in general, you look at the video and you look at the video and there's something off about it. It's if it, you'd have to run it through a couple of diagnostics to be certain, but you're almost certain that this has been composited together. This is like the video that they're showing is that this diplomat returning safely home, but you're pretty sure that's not what's actually you're pretty sure this is a combination of a couple of different videos at least that have been edited together. And it's a
Mm.
good enough job that it's gonna fool most normal people, and as far as you that's, gonna fool most normal people, like people with actual levels of skill like yourself, a Kib, some other higher level operatives might notice something like this, but
I
whether they would
video
have a stake.
call.
Yeah,
I video call Kib.
okay. Where's Kib at?
He just finished his shift in the observe thingy or whatever it was.
In the
In the
Oh,
observation?
offices. Yeah, in the offices and stuff. He's
Oh,
taking
yeah,
shifts
so
there.
operations, yeah, so
Yeah.
you're leaving operations then?
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. So maybe we get Kib as you're kind of getting on the lift to leave the operations deck and go back down, to
mm.
wherever you were headed.
So yeah, ring ring, ring ring, ring a ding a
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'm done. I finished. Everything's good.
Hello, Kib.
Yeah.
So you're off shift. I got you.
Yeah.
Um, so you know how we got that new batch of news in yesterday or today, whenever it was.
I haven't watched much of the news, so I'm not 100% sure what's going down yet. I was going to go to the Well, I was gonna go to my room, pull it up, and catch up real quick just before
Okay,
I got done with
well,
my shift.
it appears that channel Xi Beta 33 has an article about a dignitary of some sort getting themselves killed, and there's a video. It looks sketchy at best, and this is like a conference room only sort of topic. So look for other newsreels in the last couple of weeks that are other rich people getting killed, and make me a report. So that means you need to do a computer's check.
Okay, I'll go. Well, instead of going to my room, we'll go down to the
Archives?
whatever my computery area.
Yeah, your
What?
terminal. Yeah.
Uh,
Engineering?
yeah, the engineering area, and I'll compile that report and get it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Take your time. If anything happens, it's not necessarily a priority, but it's something we should know about. And I'll explain more later if you're confused. Click.
Okay.
And I go
Is
back to
that
Silver Soul. And now
is
it's your turn.
Yeah,
okay? My question is can that be done and like take a 20 to do it to make sure I get all the data I need to make an elegant
sure,
report?
sure. it'll take you a little while, but yeah, you can if you wanna take the time to take 20 on it, you can absolutely do that.
So that's what, like a
Um
34?
Yeah, you'll be able to parse through and like maybe maybe we like get like you starting off on like getting down to engineering and getting to your workstation and like starting the algorithms that will help you parse the information based on the factors of rich powerful dignitaries or whatever your search filters are to parse this through. um but in the meantime, while you are doing that, I think you're kind of back up on the civilian deck. Philip, there is a bit of like there's Zerk is like, would you care to join me for a moment? It's, these are quite
Oh.
good. These sandwiches are quite good.
Do they give me 10 or 20? Um, Sorry, folks. Anyway, yes, of course.
And he's like,
Let me
uh,
see if I can pull my. I've been told. I start the conversation like this. Been told through my channels. Apparently, I didn't make a very good example of myself the first time that we chatted.
oh, no, this is Zerk. Valen Sewer is the one who doesn't like you. Zerk
Damn it.
doesn't care. Zerk does like you. He's
Okay.
like,
Well,
uh,
then we're still going with this so that we stay in character.
yeah,
And I didn't roll poorly, so.
he's like, no, no, I never had an issue with you. You've been quite accommodating us to this point. This is, I do have a kickback of, I've got some rare teas. I got a case of some rather rare tea, and I figured I'd save an extra case back for you.
Mm.
Just, so I'll have it delivered to whatever storeroom you wish it delivered to, or to your room.
Actually, probably to my room. Um, have you had any luck at acquiring any more? Oh wow, gnome, gnome,
Pebblebrook whiskey.
Pebblebrook. Yeah.
You think, Uh, I've got a shipment that I believe should be coming in before long. Not here yet, but sometime soon. You
It's
know,
okay. My stores are not low for any means. But I like to have enough on hand that if it doesn't happen, I won't run out. So
I understand you met an acquaintance of mine, one Sothki Marins.
remind me who Sofsky was. It's been a couple months out of
So
character.
Sothki was the informant that told you all that these people on this list all had something to do with Terivia. And that
Ah,
all of them
yes.
came and that there was something called Operation Topaz that they were all connected with somehow. Um,
Review Topaz.
so it would the Marins was the informant that Captain Herlig's message pointed you to.
Mm. All right. And what were you asking about him again? Oh, if I met him. Yes. But who was the little dude that was super sharp? The one that's like, who's the boss? The one that was at the Paper Leaf Tea Trading Company in the Vesk area.
Oh, Tresmelic? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Tresmelic.
yes, I met the person that you're talking about, but Tres Melik was the one that blew me away.
But he kind of chuckles. He goes, he's a interesting, if not unique, director of operations for for that
Now,
branch.
the strangest part about that whole the whole thing was, we brought the doctor with us, and he went to a different shop for a little while and ended up coming in and blew the whole cover because they knew each other. And the doctor, of course, can't keep a secret to save his soul
He
if he
goes,
has one.
he kind of chuckles. He goes, unfortunately, that just from what I hear from you and others that have spoken of Dr. Oglehop, that just seems to be how he is. A little
Yes,
absent-minded.
I'd say somehow he's been granted Warlanisi luck.
He's a very odd character. He, he kind of chuckles. He's like, but I was wondering about what outside of all of that. Now that the now that the Merchants Council has been organized and we're getting things back up and getting things up and running,
Mhm.
there is a
Yes.
question. There is a
Congratulations
question.
on winning the election.
He chuckles. He says, "You're probably going to need someone. Well, we're all going to need someone, a representative of your organization, to write off on things. Someone
Oh,
that may be
yes.
a bit more available than yourself. You know her."
Colovian has been promoted to a spot of honor within the organization for her hard work and dedication. She can actually help you with all of that.
Well, I'm certain Miss Colovian has many
Oh,
fine talents. I never
oh.
struck her to be one who has much interest in the paperwork side of things. That's sort of what I was speaking of. Somebody to keep the
Uh,
contract, somebody to negotiate on and make rulings upon the various contracts that exist around here. Let's say
that
there is
aren't me.
someone who can handle a dispute between contracted individuals as a neutral party.
I have someone like that aboard. Ooh, bring me the father. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Let me put the insane
I've
let me put
discovered
the
something.
insane madman in the insane madman death cultist in charge of my paperwork.
Yeah, he'll
Perfect.
sign everything, and it's a perfect patsy to blame everything. But we're far enough out that that part won't work. So probably not the father. Okay, so not Colovian. Next in line would be Nenvis, but that's a horrible idea. Um,
Not saying there's any hurry, to be honest with you. I just thought perhaps it would
oh,
be
what's her
something you
name?
might.
I have a perfect person for that. They've been getting paid for months for not doing much. Let me see. It's in regular notes. Her name is uh Chiffon, and she's the Lashunta girl that Korad recruited for us a while back. Like she was the last like named one, and
He says,
she has all the correct skills for that.
yeah, he's like, okay. He says, fair enough. And he says, but I also am curious. There were rumors and conjecture, conspiracy theories about that, or that orcish general a couple of weeks ago, and then the dignitary and the bureaucrat in the techno majocracy of the Verilox Concordance. I also, and now this one, he says, I know you're sharp, but your eyes are sharp. You know that video is a fake as well as I do. What do you make of
Well,
it?
I was going to say you just. I wasn't trying to be sneaky. You heard me call Kib
Mm,
and tell him to do a report over those.
You I was just looking for more of a gut reaction. I
Oh,
understand you're looking into, but he
as
says,
far as it goes, it sounds like a vigilante is taking out his anger on wealthy people. Um, if it didn't always end tragically for the person that does it, it should be done more often. But that's where that line is drawn: is how many people can I get away with killing that are rich before I get shot?
he kind of chuckles. He goes, well, I certainly hope I'm not on that list. Having acquired a modest sum of my own, I shudder to think what their definition, such a killer's definition, would include for wealthy. And I imagine
Well,
you have reason to be concerned of this as well.
if you own a planet, you're probably on that list. So you're probably good. And this is
Oh,
just a shitty space station, so I'm probably good too.
he kind of chuckles. He goes, "Here's
Not that I
hoping,
would
then,
consider
yes."
myself wealthy normally. Yes. Ha 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 ha.
And on a personal note, I heard that that Eox formally revoked your citizenship over the incident in League of Helladis.
Hmm.
I just meant
So
to
my eyebrow
offer
goes up
mention.
sharply, and my demeanor immediately changes, and I go, Silver Soul, I'm a Labrian. I can trace back my ancestry all the way to the Gap. And there are a random number of names that are pre Gap that I also know, but that's really all I know, not their deeds or what they did for the family. I will always be Eoxian. And at some point, the people that did that will know that it was a horrible idea. And then I blink a couple of times and I go back to, but anyway, I think it's kind of crazy.
And he kind of chuckles and he goes, "No, you don't have to play coy with me. I understand vendettas quite well." He goes, "Whatever your dispute with the League of Helladis is, certainly there's no part in it that we have. No interest there. I simply wanted to see if you had caught on to the pattern emerging here. I wonder
Well,
what it all means."
having been around wealthy people for a long bit of my life is the outcast one, like, oh, yes, that's so and so's granddaughter. Um, and then they're like, oh. And then they're way nicer after that. But, well, up until recently. Apparently, even that's losing its clout. Not that I'm trying to use it out here as a leverage.
Mhm.
But, as far as it goes, someone has a list and is going through it.
His eyes arch up
It's-
when you say list. A
right.
list? What kind of list?
All of these people, actually, I have to do the thing. Let me see if I can remember before I try to lie. Culture. Voodoo, voodoo. Yeah! All right. Pretty sure all of these people are members of the Amber Reese.
Hmm.
And that seems to be the only thing that's connecting them besides wealth. And with enough wealth, you're part of this Amber Reese if you're around here. So, it seems to be some weird sex cult on top. But past that, I haven't figured anything out.
He kind of nods. And he kind of nods as if like you just confirmed something that he was already thinking. You know,
Mm.
whatever that necessarily was, whether direct or indirect. He says he says interesting. He goes, I would ask where you base all of that, what information you base all of that on, but I do understand Librians have a way of seeing the complex patterns between seemingly unrelated materials that the rest of us cannot see.
Yes, but every time I have to use that ability, it gives me a migraine for like 3.5 days.
Like, he goes, he says,
The depth of meditation makes my whole brain swell.
because I imagine it would take a number of investigators quite a bit of time to come up with that theorem. He
Hmm?
goes, he and he goes, well, I do suppose I've taken up enough of your valuable time. He goes, "Hey,
Yes, Eventually, I need to go see the vice president of the board because the loser of the election, of course, is Jim Fish. And I'm sure he loves that you're his boss.
He's like,
You may need a
uh,
wine taster for a while.
he chuckles. He goes, "I'm not worried about that. I doubt very seriously Mr. Sewer wants to kill me. May not. May some healthy business rivalry is always good. And I wouldn't worry overly much about it at this point." And he kind of starts to and um
Mm.
and I think this is about the time where a couple of very interesting type things happen here. Um,
Oh no, explosions! I'm sucked out into space. Wait a minute, I'm wearing a spacesuit. Whoop.
First of all, there are a lot of there seems to be some sort of commotion going on,
Mm.
like across the way, like kind of close
I
to
have
the
Kib Zoom.
casino or whatever, huh?
I have Kib Zoom. Not Kib. Damn it. Why do I keep. Ha! Uh, Zoom in on what's going on over there. There you go.
So Ha has to fly up a little bit, and has to fly up a little bit to get a good view.
Right.
And the press of people sort of seems to be backing in your way to some degree. And Ha comes back and shows you a
Well, yeah,
quick,
he should be transmitting it to my
he
comms.
transmits to you a a very striking woman who very tall in a pale green dress with a silver circlet like at the around her neck, attaching the dress to that the dress is attached to, and her hair is silver and braided in very complicated knots. And there just seems to be there like at first glance she seems to be human, but then there's just this slight hint of scale, like right around the backside of her ears and whatnot. And zoom in on her eyes, and the eyes are very definitely not human eyes. They look more reptilian, or for lack of a better descriptor at this point. And they are also a pale green with silver irises. Um,
But what's the commotion?
The commotion is everybody around her. Like everybody around her, like she exudes a presence that people seem to be completely in awe of, but yet also unwilling to get too close to. And she moves with like a great deal of fluid, elegant grace.
Well, Silver Soul, you'll have to forgive me. I think there's someone random on my ship.
He
Uh,
j- he kind of nods and
I'll
he
let you
says,
know if they're important later.
he goes, he kind of smirks at this a little bit. It's like, says, if you don't mind, I'd like to see exactly what's going on myself. And he
No,
stands up
no, you
to.
stay. Of course, of course. Just don't
um,
get yourself killed.
when you like the crowd sort of comes back towards you, and it's like watching like like a fish move through the water. The effect of the crowd makes around this woman, and she gets closer to you, and the crowd kind of parts because most of these people are unwilling to get too close to you. You guys have fed a few people through the corpse recycle, and most people understand that the most important rule on wheel station is don't cross the fucking station
Oh,
managers.
man.
Um,
Right.
don't cross the rulers of the station. Um,
You're worth more to
so
me dead, most of you. Remember that. Yeah.
they but she kind of like seems to be looking around a bit like, inspecting everything, and when she gets, like, the crowd parts, she finishes looking and looks directly at you, and she goes and speaks in Draconic, and she goes, "How is your Draconic these days? Are you still speaking the shitty version? Are you still speaking the shitty version, or have you learned anything of
Oh,
old Dragonish yet?"
oh, oh. I hold up one finger and I whisper into his ear, "This is a time dragon, so you can cross this one off your bucket list." And I'm like, "No, it hasn't really got much better. But as far as it goes, I know a lot of languages. We can try a different one and see if it's less offensive."
She's like she just, like, shakes her head, she's like, "Then we'll just speak in your common tongue." And
Oh, good.
she's like, "I had hoped to see what it was that you were doing here, making a great deal of noise. But I also came for my own purposes."
I
And
was
she's
gonna
like,
say, I apologize for the hole that we created on the. That was not my intention at all because I was like, oh, a cool place to store stuff quietly.
she kind of stops looking around again and looks back at you, and she's like, "The hole in that moon is of no consequence." And she's like, and she kind of like, she's like, "If you don't mind, I would prefer a tour,
Oh,
at least until, at least temporarily. I'm sure events should be moving along quickly soon enough." And
I crossed my arms at her and then put one leg over the other. And when I'm like, that is the scariest thing I think I've ever heard spoken on this ship. Well, a tour, you say?
she's like, "Indeed." She's like, "I'm interested what you humanoids and other species are doing out here."
Well, do you want the long version or the short version? So, this is our, oh gosh, uh, no, what is it called? From here, we can actually place messages to anywhere in the verse, well, in this section of the verse. It's new. And then, of course, we have a large commerce facility with some of the
Oh,
oldest companies, as well as some of the newer ones.
all right. Yeah. She like, and maybe like while you're kind of like taking her on a tour, I think Kib, you are parsing through data, and the what you're getting here is looking pretty kind of disturbing. First of all, the news video that Philip was referencing is clearly a fake. They took composited images from, they took the background from an earlier footage from 2 years ago. They took the footage from the um, they took the footage from the they took the footage from the dignitary like a year ago. Like it's a newer piece of footage, but but everything else, the curious thing about it is everything else in the foreground, like it's clear that the background of the dignitary's home that they supposedly were returned safely to is, faked, old footage from 2 years prior, and that the footage from the footage of the dignitary themselves is a year old. But all of the security guards that are roaming look like they're from recent camera footage. So somebody has had access to a lot of security footage of this dignitary's home from over a period of years. And this is very clearly a cover up. Like there's this dignitary probably is not in their home well, safe and well. and the security that are roaming outside, there's a good chance that they're either in on it or they're somehow being deceived themselves. Which means there's a possibility an imposter could be in play at this point.
Mm.
It's really hard to speculate too far, but this name of this particular dignitary matches up with two other names, an orc warlord, who died in what was deemed a tragic accident a couple of weeks ago. Has a couple of weeks ago also had some mysterious circumstances around it. Like there are a lot of people you never got footage of that itself, of that particular death itself, but you got plenty of reliable information from trusted contacts and some news feeds that didn't show the video, that just sort of reported the facts. And some dark boards have a lot of conspiracy theories of what happened, this tragic accident. And it was very close to how happened to Count Sarivia in the Velquin, in the Velquin Imperium. The And then the other dignitary, the bureaucrat in the Verilax Concordance, was said to have died from a very mysterious disease, various mysterious infection that had a very quick onset and they couldn't find a cure for, and that there's supposedly now some foundation devoted to research on this. But some of the dark boards you've come across came back that this foundation is a shell for something else, that it's not really being used to research any kind of like diseases or what have you. um, and that like the coroner's reports were rumored to be uh, altered and whatnot. And you're kind of finding like this pattern. And all three of these people were on that list, that big important list that Captain Hurlig left you behind, which means they were all Amber Wreath agents. For one, because you know that all those people on that list are Amber Wreath agents, and two, um, you know that they were all connected somehow to Operation Topaz, whatever that is, because all of those agents are somehow connected to it and to Terivia. So there's a definite connection, and it's one more of those things where it's like somebody got to the people, it got to somebody on your list before you guys were able to investigate them.
Okay. So I gathered the three information, get the original photo, analyze it, and then I'm going to create excuse me, create a separate like uh PowerPoint presentation type thing.
Hmm.
And so what Kim does is he makes this whole PowerPoint presentation that will take the original video and point out the different point. Like he's creating a whole PowerPoint presentation to present the flaws in each of the scenarios, and then towards the end of that presentation, he's also going to compile how they're all tied together and uh, how they're tied to each other and towards the list to present to the rest of the people on the council. Yeah.
Right. And I think we cut back up to Philip, where you are kind of walking along, and there are two first thing the first thing that happens is you get a communication that which by the way, Alteria Alexia also does, by the way, and maybe she's in the process of telling you, by the way, I understand my full name may be more difficult for some of you. Lixa will do for short.
Okay.
And you get a buzz at this point that is a security alert to you that's like security, like a large contingent of heavily armed individuals, have shown up. And they kind of walk and um, they're sort of like you hear that they're down in
So,
fucking maybe it's Dovry that actually contacts you. She's like, Captain, well since Mr. Arms is off on business right now, I figured I'd let you know. There's a fair contingent of highly trained looking mercenaries down here, and an elf woman who wants to see you. And and I'm not gonna lie, I like my own chances, but I don't think but between you and me, I don't think much of our security staff would stand much of a chance against these. They look like real pros.
what grenades are for, dear? But infinite grenades. Um, sorry.
They only
I'll
need
be there
one.
in a moment. Also funny. I'll be there in a moment.
I think Lixa
Lexi,
pretty much. I
Lixa,
think
yeah.
I think Lixa just gestures like lead the way, and
I was like,
Zerk.
wait. Maybe
She's
a
like,
little bit more warning. I mean, I realize you said foreboding, but I thought that would come, later than this. And I'm
um,
like, this way.
and I think Zerk goes. It kind of goes. Ooh, this is just getting good. And he kind
Right.
of follows
I
along
do look at
too.
Zerk and I'm like, you are armed, correct?
He kind of he smiles and he goes, "Oh, with my wit and charm, I'm always armed." And,
Very well. I hope that stops bullets too.
he,
Um,
you
go
do
ahead.
like he kind of chuckles at that, and he kind of chuckles at that, and as you kind of like make your way down there, like
Oh,
you
I
find
say, Kib, activate your Sentinel fusion. Damn it, Kib.
Right.
Let's try that again. I call Kib and I say hide. Um, actually, go lock yourself in the office.
Uh, I'm finishing the report, but okay.
There are people here that probably want you dead. Go hide in the office and finish the report there.
Oh, I need to go back to the office anyway.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is
yeah, I'm
this
on
is
my
a
way.
quick back and forth on me texting because I don't want to have that conversation with a time dragon and that guy with me. We activate Sentinel fusion. Fuck. Well, I guess we're almost there. I think that's
yeah,
everything.
yeah, you get to the docking port, and like your security staff looks relatively nervous, like standing there with their guns pointed and fucking. And
Wait,
Dovry is
pointed?
well, yeah, probably because. And you're in the middle, and you walk in as Dovry, as Dovry is talking. She's like, and another thing, I don't think you're quite worth Miss Defoe's time. You're just a flippity freaking elf. You're a pansy. She goes, and she
Stand
goes,
down and
she,
go
and like
now. Hang
the
on, I'm gonna
like,
yell about that.
yeah,
Ah, there I am. Anger. Not that good at it. This may be silly.
yeah. She
Yeah.
just looks at, she just looks at you. She's like, ah, she goes, you're a bit of a spoil sport then. What's she gonna do? She goes, hey, she kind
I,
of looks at
I
one of
lean
the
down.
soldiers.
I lean down and I go, kill us all. That's what she can do.
She kind
You
of
may be the last one to go down, but look at that. They have bigger guns. I know you understand that. Now
She
go
kind of
away.
she kind of goes, all right, all right. And she looks at one of the guards that's up front. He goes, hey, big boy, if you want a real fight, come find me later. We'll see which one of us is tougher. And the soldier just kind of looks at her, but holds his place. And standing and you hear Netrine's voice come across. She goes, stand aside and stand down. I'm sure Miss Deptfo has her people under control.
Right.
And
I turn around and look at security and I'm like, shoo.
so what?
I tell them to shoo.
Okay, yeah, they
Right.
they kind of like they fall back, and he's
Right.
and she's like,
Keep your guard, but honestly, you should probably all run if this goes poorly.
she looks at you. She goes, I wasn't aware you and I had
Hi.
cause for a concern. And she smiles in that serene, unreadable smile.
And I respond with, well, due to recent events, I must keep all relationships evaluated. And since you came in force, and I gestured to everyone behind her, I didn't know exactly what was going on. So, but,
She says,
and I inspect her guard, and I'm like, but even if they have half as good gear, half as good, wow. Even if their gear is only half as good as this one's, my average security guard isn't going to do anything but make them have to polish later.
she's
So,
like,
how can I
yeah.
help you?
She goes, well, to be honest with you, I'm mostly here to meet with Count Leseb. Uh, he, I'm aware that you have a meeting scheduled with him. I contacted him before he left the Velquin Imperium. His sister and I were good friends. I wished to convey my condolences.
Hmm.
Mrs. Rivia was a member in good standing. It is always we are always saddened to lose a trusted friend, one of our trusted friends, and we wish to offer our sympathy and condolences in person. However, since I'm here, I am curious as to what you've done with the place since I was here the last time, and I do have an offer. And she smiles and she says,
Hmm.
we are aware that your associate has some rather important information that we would like to get our hands upon, as well as any information that they have dug up and they themselves. I'm prepared to offer 100,000 credits for Kib, his research, the list, the whole thing. He'll be well treated, I assure you.
Hey, Kib.
I'm working. What?
Okay, so I don't know if you were listening, but the jester wants to know if the price for your head is 100,000 credits. God, now I have to think in character. And what do I need to do? I need the opposite of sense motive. I want to put up defenses, not be red. What's the word?
Looking for bluff?
Yeah. I'm horrible at bluffing. All right, let's see how this goes, Kib. That's not bad. I don't think I've seen Kib for a couple of days. I think he's off on some mission.
She smiles and she goes, very well. It was simply an offer. She goes, she goes, however, and she says, however, as an envoy, as the envoy for the Amber Wreath, my mission is diplomatic in nature. However, we have the understanding that there have been some diplomats that have been killed of recently.
Mm. Yes, I've seen. Oh, I think they're from last week's news files at this point. So I'm mostly caught up.
She's like,
But I can prove that I was here and only here for those weeks. In fact, we actually just got the first luxury liner from our line out. I would love for you to check it out.
I would be interested in inspecting your facilities, a tour perhaps. And
Mm.
Lixa, you noticed the whole time that you were considering you were considering was watching you very closely. And she's uh, and I think I think probably it's something that Netrine would have noticed as well. Um, and
Oh,
she simply gives a polite nod of deference to
Elixir.
the time to Lixa. Is a
Elixir. Okay.
yeah. She's like she's
Elixir.
like yeah.
Yes, this is an acquaintance of mine. Don't mind her. She has high level security clearance, and she doesn't care one way or the other.
She's like and she speaks in Draconic to Lixa, and she goes, "It is it is a pleasure to meet you once again, Mistress Dragon." And uh, Lixa simply answers back and says, simply answers back and is with a, "You always seem to be places that are interesting." And
I
this
expected a
other
different response from her. I expected the dragon to be like, "See, that's how you speak Draconic."
nope. She just kind of but like there is a Netrine kind of looks at you,
Mm.
looks at
And
you
I'm
like,
like, "Oh,
"What?"
good, yay!" Tell me she's more annoying than I am.
Like, Lixa is kind of shrugs, and she's kind of, she's like, um, she pretty much shrugs, and she's like, "Mm, don't mind me. I am as a shadow for you today." And she seems to chuckle at that
Mm.
at some inside joke that only she's aware of. Netrine, you can't tell if she gets it or not, but she does. But Lixa doesn't play it to Netrine like she should. So,
Mm.
like she should get it either. So it seems to be an inside personal
Ah,
joke.
she's one of those dragons. Yay. And I'm like, all right, we can schedule you a tour. Or I guess you could join this one and she'll just have to come back by a few things with us.
Like it's like she goes, at your leisure, whichever is most convenient.
Mm. Oh, all right. Well, I get on my comms and send everybody the whole, hey, it went from me just wandering through everywhere once to twice, and now there's going to be a horde of dudes with guns following us. So, let everybody know so they can just get the heck out of the way, not have to deal with it at all.
Mm,
Yeah.
awesome.
And so, yeah, I'll lead them all through, and we make the last stop, the gemfish shop.
Mm, yep. You the shopkeeper is doing his job. Valen Sewer isn't in the storefront itself. He may either
Right.
be in the office or may be off on some other
Oh,
business.
No, if I was going to make this the last stop, I definitely would have texted him as well along the way while I'm describing all the
Okay.
improvements and
Oh,
all the
yeah, yeah.
things that I find funny that are going to annoy both of them because, they're not refined funny. They're, oh, what a quaint little worker we have talking to us right now.
Mm,
So, yeah, he should be there or coming out of the back because he's watching security footage right now.
uh,
Uh, I
well,
mean, I made it a point that he's the last stop.
alright. So, um,
I made that
Kib
apparent in my text.
alright. Kib, you, by the way, are,
Oh, locked in the office.
you happen to get, you happen to get a couple of transmissions through that were, you happen to see a couple of transmissions that because you're in charge of like all the stuff uh, you see a couple of transmissions that are coming through to Crenville's office that are dealing with Grimbuckle Syndicate business. Um, Apparently, the Captain Vard and his crew have been taking to hitting um, prison ships and freeing the prisoners. And it's kind of becoming a thing. Like um, he hit like two prison ships last week. Um, no one knows where the prisoners are, disappearing off to at this point because they're just like, once he frees them, who knows? But it's definitely them, and they've been using their the bent cage, the ship that you got that Igwart specific, like detailed instructions were very specific on how the ship was, to be built out and whatnot. And they had you even keep details down to a brig on it, but the brig security systems were busted just like they were when Captain Vard and his original crew broke out of the original bent cage. Some kind of sentimental thing. Um,
Well, if that was the case, they could have got that through in a regular sized ship,
well,
and they
there's
could have had the original one.
no, but
But
they probably had parts of it shipped in to be reassembled, but
nice.
like,
Okay.
but
Right.
they've been.
So,
But Kib, you've come across this is like this like maybe the third transmission you've come across, two of them
yeah, I'm
last
not
week,
there. My
one the
bad.
week before. So you've come across this transmission that this is a thing that's going on. I don't know if it's a thing that matters particularly to you or not, but this is the thing you notice.
I make note of it, but I don't really pay it no never mind at this point. I'm like, they're freeing people. I don't really know why they're prisoners in the first place, but hey,
Yeah.
to all each their own, I guess. If it becomes a problem, then I'll have data collected
All right,
to
and
help.
the dudes that are at the bank cage are also the ones that have the other space station.
Yeah, yeah. They're the ones that run
Sorry,
Terror Station. Yep.
it's been a couple weeks. My brain is still trying to remember stuff. Sorry, Scott.
Actually, that helps me too to understand where because I kind of remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember that we made a ship that was way larger than it should have been here. And gave it to some people that are technically dicks.
Yeah.
I also remember that we didn't put any identifying marks on it. Not that we're not the only, shipbuilding facility in the area or something.
Right, right.
There were enough people that were driving by when we were building it. It was like, oh, that's a big fucking ship. Hmm. But
Mm.
I mean, we did say, in canon that we tried to build as many back doors as we could just in case. Which means if we did 10 and they only found 9, that's still a back door. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry,
But
kid. I keep interrupting.
you've come across and you're getting and you're kind of getting, like, in some of the latest news feeds over the last couple of weeks, there's stuff that you're kind of going over, things like trade sanctions and embargoes against you in the League of Heladice, obviously, and the Pact Worlds and the Marixa Republic have all sort of like condemned this. There's still been no official like statement from Tyrus Skilled or Skilled Industries, but they're himself. But there's definitely like the League of Heladice has definitely put in trade sanctions, trade embargoes against you. So they won't do business with you, and they won't do business with anybody who's doing business with you. And it's pretty predictable that the packed worlds would have put that in place because they don't want, even though they may occasionally be guilty of assassinations, they don't want to be tied to one so public that actually has nothing to do with them, and they don't. They want to make sure that is very clear. They got nothing to do with it, and Marixa Republic's just going to do whatever fucking the Pact Worlds does. They sort of like they sort of are like, yes, we are civilized too. We're also against this sort of barbarity and barbarism, you know. Oh, the Veskarium doesn't give a shit though.
Hmm. They're like, we do what we want.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They're like, that's between them. We don't care. like, um,
Oh, you're angry at them for being warriors? Fine, be angry at the warriors.
they don't give a shit.
But,
That's the
and that's
same
fine.
brain as Kib. Is he's like, okay, cool. I'm bad at communicating with people anyway, so
yeah,
y'all have fun.
Right. Well, and we were really getting more locally sourced things until recently anyway, minus parts. And there are other ways to get stuff that we need if we need to. I wink at you when I say that, even though you're not there.
Exactly.
so yeah. The Verilax Concordance hasn't put any embargoes on you, neither has or sanctions, neither is um,
Velquin.
and the Velquin.
Well, we're making ships for them. If they put sanctions on
Well,
us, we're going to stop making ships for them.
we're not quite making ships for them yet. That's a deal that still has to be like that was probably what Countess Sarivia was on her way to discuss with you guys
Oh, good.
was when her ship blew up. Um, yeah. There is and Kib, you're also coming across reports of um, there's some kind of like war going on in the Lufridge system. The hegemony of long tusks has occupational forces in the Lufridge system, um, where there is goblin resistance fighters that are trying to fight them off. Um,
Nice. Go
so there's a
goblins.
yeah, so there's a like that's one of the big news items that has popped through here. And I think this is probably I think after you manage to get like a tour, you do get a communication from the Verilax Concordance Kib that come through that hasn't been parsed yet and doled out. How is it's labeled uh, it's labeled Ambassador Eldrick.
Is there a way to look at it before sending it off to him to make sure it's not, or find out what it is first and then send it to the ambassador?
Well, it's labeled Ambassador Eldrick, but it's from the it's addressed to like the lead, whoever, like the ruling council of Freewheel Station.
Oh, okay. So
And
I
it,
set that aside for when we do our weekly meetings or whatever.
I was going to say, if it's sent that way, that means you can open it anyway.
Yeah. I would like open it and so I understand what's contained in it so that when it comes time for that meeting time to exchange information, I will know what I'm saying. And be like, no, I just have a box here or information here. No, I want to know what it is.
All right. So what pops up is a, a like a very official looking like document that from that is labeled from the technomagocracy from the Council of Six, and the council the offices of the Council of the Six, and it is a short message um that reads the count the uh that leads the Verilax Concordance will be sending you an ambassador, um, to speak on the on their behalf, and his name will be Ambassador Eldrick. There's an attached file um, on Ambassador Eldrick, and if you open it up, it shows that Ambassador Eldrick is his rank is he's ranked as officially as a diplomat, but he's also got credentials as a technomancer, um, of some, of apparently some high level ranking. And he's got some sort of bureaucratic official title that goes with him. But he is a hologram. Um, and he is a hologram with a programmed appearance that looks like a human. And it's basically it gives you it gives you um, that you should expect to see this individual on important matters of state.
Just in
But
a replacement.
but this is also a this is also a uh, this message also got stuck somewhere in the back loops of the intel in the and whatnot. So it's a couple weeks old. Like it got stuck in the backlogs. And
Hmm.
just you parsing through like the news and stuff, you were able to like unclog a lot of data, a lot of data flow issues, and get some stuff opened up.
Yeah. So Kim gets all that together and set up for the whatever. And then he makes a little side note on the side. He's like, all right, whoever let this slack get into trouble because this is kind of important.
Well, we were gone for almost 3 months.
Hmm.
True.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
So when you actually send that off to the correct person to get yelled at, you're yelling at yourself.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, ah.
I love the idea that you record this video of you just yelling about this, and it redirects back to you, and you open it and it's like you yelling at yourself. You're like, oh shit.
I gotta get better at my job. He's getting on to me.
Yep. My boss is yelling at me again. So, is the Lexa,
Yeah.
are you staying the night?
And she's like, I'm not entirely certain. There's a few more things I'm curious about before I leave.
Well,
But don't mind me.
I was
She
gonna
goes,
say, I believe. Let's find out. So, normally I would call AI for this, but I know he's busy at the moment. So, Karad? No, not Karad. Crenville. I call Crenville and I go, so, last moment, is the penthouse available?
he's like, should be. Last I knew.
Okay. You've heard about the time dragon by now, I'm sure. So she'll be staying in it tonight if she decides she's going to stay there.
He nods. He's like, he nods. He's like, understood. We'll make certain that it's prepared. Although I'm not entirely certain what exactly a time dragon would necessarily want or need, but we'll do our best to make it presentable, as presentable and
Take
comfortable as it can be.
take my 30-year gem, Brooke. That's the best we have on board. You know where it is. It's on the mantle in my room. 5656113.
He nods. He's like, oh, he goes, when you get a chance, we've got some syndicate. He's like, when you've got a chance, we've got some business to discuss. He
Yes.
doesn't. He
Yes,
doesn't
we
say
have
syndicate.
much to discuss.
He says we need to speak. We need to speak about the shipment of belts that we're having brought that you ordered.
Oh, thank God. I was wondering how long it was going to take for those to get here. But we'll
Yeah,
talk
there's
more
a
later.
problem with it. He goes, indeed.
All right.
Yeah,
See you shortly. Click.
yeah. Um, I think
Next week.
Valen's. Yeah, I think Valen Sewer probably makes his way out, and he looks at Zerk, and there's a there's maybe a moment where he might look a little sour, but he instead kind of like, but then he immediately turns it um, to a very sort of polite, like sort of greeting. He's like, ah, he goes, if it isn't a competition, and he goes, and our gracious host, and our gracious landlady, if I may say. He goes, he goes, to what do we owe to what do I owe the honor? And he kind of
Oh,
sees the other
I
two.
saved you for last. We have two unexpected guests. This is the head of the Amber Wreath, and this is a time dragon. Check that one off your bucket list.
I think I think I think Netrine smiles serenely and goes, I'm the cordial hand. The leadership is a little bit more complicated than simply one person, but I am their representative in most matters, public facing.
But anyway, so they would like a tour of your shop.
He's like,
Now,
well,
go ahead.
he's like, well, yeah. And he goes, Uh, we've only recently been able to get stuff set up, and he's like, we have a pretty good assortment of, we have a solid assortment of fine products, and he's got maybe kind of like has a select. He's like, what would you like to see first? We have a number of things in our catalog, and we have a number of things in stock, display items, and the like, and I think Netrine is like, kind of says, she kind of looks around and she's like, she's like, actually, I would prefer to get a bit of entertainment in before the count arrives. Is there anywhere one might get a freshen up?
Is she wanting to take a shower, freshen up?
Yeah, well, I think she's
Let's put
mainly,
her in Daniel's
I'm,
suite.
she's like, she's like, she kind of does comment. She goes, you have done quite a bit more than than your humble beginnings. I am,
Mm,
I am
we're not
delighted
done
that
yet.
I'm delighted to see that you've managed to make a proper, legitimate go of it.
Well, it is in my blood to succeed.
It's like, by the way, I've been hearing about a criminal presence that has been making its way into the frontier. There are rumors of a syndicate She goes, she goes, I hope such a thing isn't causing any inconvenience to your operations.
Mm. Hmm. I know she's talking about us, but I have heard of this syndicate, but they have not tried to make their presence known to me yet, which is fairly strange. You'd think, since I would be the central place that they would want to smuggle goods through, that I would know. I should look more into that.
She's like, she goes, I think, and did you take her through like the shipbuilding, the industrial shipbuilding facilities?
Yes,
Oh, okay, yeah,
actually, after that, I look at the gemfish guy.
Valensur. Yeah.
Yeah, I look at Valen and I'm like, Valen, we just finished this morning the luxury liner. And these wonderful people are coming with us to check it out. Would you like to come as well?
And he's like, he looks over at the shop at his shopkeeper, and he looks around at the station at the his shop, and he's got a fair clip of business going on. And he's like, I think I can spare a minute for a journey such as this, and
Oh, yes, we
he
can consider it council business.
and he looks over at Netrine, and he says, "So I've heard of this amber wreath. I hear that you're a very high end that you deal with very high end providers of services and goods." And Netrine is like, yes, we have many friends in those in we have many friends in many industries, but we do tend to have a minimum quality that our clientele prefers to that our organization prefers to draw the line at. After all, those who are privileged want to feel privileged. It's a natural course of affairs. And I think there's a little bit of banter back and forth between the two of them. Valensur is obviously feeling it out. Zerk throws a word in here and there, but um, you get the impression that he's not as interested in a hard sell here.
Right. As far as it goes, once we get there, it is decked out. It isn't the finest thing we could have made. We went mid model because we wanted to be both expensive yet still on the affordable end. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it is decked out, custom everything. And I mentioned, this was our first attempt at perfection. We'll get better with time and as more people buy them.
But
But what is it when you have the one ship? Um, I'll think of it later. I almost had it. And this one actually has probably Bettina's name on it. We're going to have it sent out there for her to have a test run with it. Let her have it for a week so she falls in love with it and then get her to buy it.
the yeah, I think Netrine looks around. She goes, and she's like, for a first run production, this is. She goes, for a first run production, this is fairly nice. And she
Thank you.
goes, and as and the maybe there's a slight snort that Lixa produces. Um,
Well, yeah,
and
she sees all.
yeah, she she's kind of like um, you're not sure if she's reacting to if she's reacting to Netrine statement or the situation or something else entirely.
True enough.
But
I don't expect to understand time, Dragon.
yeah, Zerk for his part looks around and goes, reminds me of a couple of deals I made over the course of, I think it must have been about 30 years ago. No, 40. Was it really 50? It might have been with not the not this Aramol, the Aramol before. No,
Aramal the second?
grandfather? Well, maybe it was the first. He goes, either way, reminds me of doing a business with of making a very profitable business deal with a very wealthy family. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
he goes and Valen's are kind of like is kind of looking around, and he kind of seems to be nodding in appreciation. Um, but yeah, you managed to get the um, you're while you're taking them on the tour, Kib, you get a you get a like a let's see, what am I looking at here? So you're in your office and what
Well,
have
he's in the office with the safe.
you're okay, so you're in the operations office. Good. You
And it's
get
locked up
Yes.
tighter than a well stick.
because things going through operations come through you, like they're like you see that a couple of that there's a few ships that are sort of docking and dropping off passengers and then parking essentially. One of which um one of which is Captain Percival Worthy,
Oh, nice.
um, and the Lucky Drifter.
Hey,
Worthy himself boards. There is
my
also
apologies. Are the lightning dragons here?
um not at the moment, but Count
That's
Leseb.
too bad because I would love to be like, hey, you want to meet a time dragon?
Count Leseb is here, has arrived. Um, like you get the
Hmm.
message comes through in ops, and they direct it to the office in ops where you're at, Kib. Because there is a Kyle, one of the sort of like people from the plane of shadow that like or shadow touched people from the Velquin Empire, and he seems to be wearing military, uniform, military uniform. And
Hmm.
he's like, he's like, Count Lussab is here for his appointment with his meeting with Miss Depfo and Mr. Kibb, requesting access to Doc and the
They have first priority, so whoever's in
yeah
line is just going to have to wait.
yeah.
Um, at this point, I call the club. I reserve. I'm taking
Well,
the.
you haven't gotten the message yet.
You don't
Kib
have a
has it.
Oh,
clue
my
yet.
bad. Sorry,
Yeah,
Kib. When all
Kib's the
that
one that got the
happens,
message.
reserve the room because it's time to just have a party. There's enough important people here that you don't know about that are all trying to kill you.
No, Lesub isn't
Right.
necessarily trying to kill you. Maybe, as far as we know right now, anyway.
There's probably
Yeah,
several
God
people.
said Count Lessick is fine right now. You're gonna have to piss him off before he wants to kill you. But anyway,
Anyway, so I relay back that yeah, they're need to dock before anybody else, and they can just chill for a moment while we get everything set up, and then we'll get the meeting set in order. And then I will message Philip, be like,
Mhm.
Mr. Worthy or Percival Worthy.
yeah, Percival.
Percival Worthy.
Captain Perso.
Captain Percival Worthy here for our meeting. When do you want to set that up? How do you want to set that up? And
Well, like
do you want
count
him to
less
come to
of
me?
it. Well, count less of this too, because
Okay,
they're
and
two
this is
different
when I
people.
tell you
Oh, count.
to do the party. Call the club, reserve the room, make sure there's good food. Damn it! Now I'm down to 25-year-old bottles. Tell them. Nah, we'll just bring the one bottle, but make sure that security footage of these people has been sent to everybody that's working tonight so that they know them on site. I mean, I'll be there too, but just, to be prepared once we get there.
Right. Call the club, reserve a room, make sure everybody knows this is like top class important people. Got it.
Yeah, this is like if
I'm on
keepers
it.
of the. Tell them, pretend that keepers of the secret are the people that are coming. Minus drugs.
Keepers. All right. What? Yeah. Just
They'll know what
whatever
that
you.
means.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. I'll set that up.
Thank you. Also, make sure that you have something sent to the office. Sorry. Like I said, they offered me $100,000. Send.
Oh. Okay.
That's why you're locked in that room.
Wait. What?
That's why I made you go lock yourself in the office.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to focus on these new things, and that's why. All right. Whatever.
I do an eye roll. I was like, go back up to the fourth message from where we're at and see where people here trying to kill you. Go hide.
Oh, I'm used to people trying to kill me. I guess I just
Right.
swept
I don't
over that.
want you dead.
Anyways, now focus point here. Let me set these meetings. Yeah, I gotta call them. I can text them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
this. We're cool.
Right. Do your thing. Text me when you're done. All
Yeah.
right. So, do you eat?
Who are you asking?
I know that elves eat. I know that I eat. But what about Lixia or Lixa?
She's like,
That's who I'm
you don't
staring at.
have. Yeah, she kind of like she just gives you a hand wave. She goes, "You wouldn't want to try to feed me." And she goes,
I smile and I'm like, I almost want to accept that challenge, but I'm not sure we have that much if that's how you're speaking.
and she just,
What about do you have an affinity for any sort of beverage that still exists? We might be able to have a little bit of it.
if it makes you feel better, I will drink a glass of wine with you.
Excellent. Um, I look at both Silver Soul and Gemfish.
Valensor.
Why can I never remember Valen? It should be easy. It's one of the V names. I look at Valen and Silver Soul, and I go, "Bring the finest wine you have. It's not often you get to drink with the Time Dragon.
It was like, uh, they're,
I'll make it up to both of you."
they kind of both shrug, like,
Well, I
eh,
assume that
Zerk.
the highest members of the council would like to be at this party.
Well, Zerk, who has had his comm unit out for the last, several minutes, goes, Oh, where exactly are we having it sent?
We've reserved the club. Well, at least, the ballers room, if you will.
Yeah, you have a VIP section, so there's
Yeah.
like,
And it
um,
will be super VIP for our elven friend here. She is used to the finer things in life. I'm sure she'll bring her own so she can outmatch us. But, ha 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 ha. No, 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 no.
there's
Yeah! My joke went over.
there's getting all things together, you managed to get to the you managed to get to
But
like getting.
just so you know, I am minding all my P's and Q's and trying to be the diplomat that I can be if I don't, poorly.
Mount Lesib sends a message to the office that he inspects to be met at the cargo at the docking port.
Would you like to meet the Count? Because that's where I'm going next.
And
Um, don't we have someone that plays some sort of like brass instrument aboard? This is why I should have called somebody. Let me see. That would be culture. So we probably have a couple of musicians that aren't the DJ. He keeps the tempo. So I will direct comms, text them both, and be like, um, I'll pay you double to be at Docking Bay 2 in 3 minutes. Be prepared to play a song for someone who thinks they're important.
when you get there, like of course Count Lesib's guard comes out first, and there a
Right. Well,
number
and
of
we wait until we're all there and explain to them just a little bit more.
well
And then we're like, all right, security is finally here, and everyone is here to meet you.
well you the guards his personal guard retinue like first files out with Hesha being like sort of like the last one out, kind of checking everyone's positions.
Right.
And
I
then
waved at
just when
her
you
real big,
and,
like hand over the head.
when you Count Lesib walks out with someone that is in a very large, bulky suit. Um, but
Interesting.
on
What is Count Lesib wearing? That's always important.
Count Lesib is wearing he's wearing a very finely cut suit.
Mm,
Um, and he's like he is a Svartalvar, so he's a Shadow Fae.
right.
His white hair is very styled, um, and slicked back. His face is rather pinched, and has a generally carries a rather sour expression on his face every time you've seen him anyway.
Mm.
And he kind of looks around, and he's about a medium build. He's not overly small or overly big. And he kind of looks around and um, well, medium for a fey creature. I guess he'd still be slight
Out of
compared to other.
out of
But
habit, because I have several in my repertoire now, I switch over to the proper gown for this time of day from their land.
but he looks around and he
I
he looks
curtsy.
around and he waves like a sort of a buzz off to your like musicians, like this kind of. And he's like,
I nod at them and
eh,
tell them to stop.
it's like it's like yes, yes, time for all of that later. He goes, first of all, I have someone I need you to meet. And
Ah.
the figure in the bulky suit steps closer and pulls and sort of like, and it's this time when you realize that this suit doesn't contain like some humanoid in it. There's a gas rolling around inside of it of some sort. And it steps forward and looks at you and it says, let me see. Let me find here real quick here. My name is Lack of Stillness. I have been sent here by the Veskarian Imperial Court to investigate possible leaks surrounding the death of Countess Severivia. I will need access to all of your security files and your personnel for personalized interviews.
Hmm.
Count Lesib looks at you and says, don't get me wrong, I'm still here to barter for ships, mostly for my own behalf. We'll see as far as the Imperium goes, will depend greatly upon the it will depend greatly upon the outcome of of the court's official investigator here.
I am willing to share with you all the knowledge we have, but what makes you think the leak is coming from here?
For one thing, the leak. For one thing, we've already done a thorough investigation in the Velquin Empire, in the Velquin Imperial. Uh, this has been turned up nothing, which is why I was contacted to come and investigate here.
I mean, I guess I should be glad you're not the Hell Knights.
He goes, I will be investigating not just regular security matters, but more of the esoteric end of things. And, I think,
You do realize that. Forgive me, Count. There's a certain amount of villainy that's allowed to go on here.
I'm not exactly concerned about that, and neither is the Imperial Court at this point. And what we're more concerned about is the death of my sister and the events leading up to them. The court believes, after a thorough investigation of the security details surrounding Countess Cerivia and her personal escorts, for the initial meeting that we were supposed to schedule with you,
That never ended
they
up
believe
happening because of the sadness, yes.
they believe the Imperial Court. It is the belief of the Imperial Court that there may have been, shall we say, psychic spies involved.
Interesting. There's so much that must be done. Let's go ahead and take this to the club. We can
He's
discuss
like,
all these matters there.
I think lack of stillness looks at you and goes, if it is all the same to you, I would like to meet with your head of security or whoever is running it at this time and do a thorough analysis of all of the intel that they have collected regarding interested parties. I'll know what I'm looking for once I see the intel.
Um, this time, I'm like, well, let me text a couple of people. And the first one actually goes to Ha, and it says to send the footage to Crenville
Grinville?
of
Okay.
of this part of the conversation. Like, well, we'll say the last 10 minutes of footage. That should be enough. And then I text Kib, and I'd be like, it's gotten worse.
Meaning.
All right, and as we're walking to the club, I do my best to summarize. We'll have Ha send him the same footage.
Okay, at this point, I will create fake profiles for myself.
Well, you and I are the most well-known people on the ship at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
fake
but
profiles aren't going to do much for that.
no,
But
I'm just gonna butter up the background where it doesn't seem. I don't
technically,
seem as.
technically, you and I are not the bad people in this situation. So, it's not as bad as it could be. But there's a certain amount of things.
Well, I think while you're texting back and forth, Netrine addresses Count Leseb and says, "Please allow me to extend my condolences. Things have been rather hectic of late, and I haven't been able to make a personal visit. Your sister was a member in good standing and a good friend." And Count Leseb looks at her and says, And of course, she always spoke very highly of you. And of course, the Amber Wreath still enjoys a very friendly relationship with my house and with the Imperial Court in general. And he says, you've always provided such entertaining delights. And he goes, the he says the Marquis would have wished me to send his thanks for the gift you sent him for his last birthday. And she smiles and says, "It gives me pleasure to know that the Marquis enjoyed the gift. Thank you." Uh,
Yay! Well, here we are,
you get to the you
right?
get
The motif is kind of Greek. No white pillars, but ivy. And then, of
all
course, both the gods of luck, one on either side of the door as you come in.
right, awesome, cool, and the place is bustling. Like this is probably the busiest place on the station right now. Like like the manager, the entertainment company that that runs the place for you, that sort of won the bid to lease the place. You've met their managers and their management staff, but you understand they're extraordinarily busy right now. It's like opening night level busy. So
Mm.
they're like they send like extra special, like they make sure that like you have personalized staff to wait on you and that the VIP is stocked and ready to go and whatnot.
Mm. Good, good.
Nice.
We get all that set up. Kib.
Yeah, I when I leave this room, I have made more tunnels in the last couple of months to get me to different places easily, just in case crap hit the fan, and apparently it has. So I will use the tunnels to get from this room to that room, since apparently I got to be a part of that meeting too.
Mm, I could have just sent you live footage. But, damn it, Kib. Alright, we'll see what happens.
Well, Netrine, for her part, doesn't stay much longer after speaking with Count Lesib. Like
Mm.
she basically like and when she and I think like she probably stays and talks to Count Lesib for a while, like and socializes, and there is like a very cordial, friendly relationship between the two of them that's very apparent. But Count Lesib eventually sort of excuses himself as he has other business to attend to, and
Mm.
Netrine graciously bows and thanks you for the hospitality. It's like, I appreciate your hospitality. If you reconsider my offer, please don't hesitate to send word. And she says, I do like what you've done with the place. You've certainly elevated your position somewhat. And she politely, sort of politely excuses herself.
That's fine. So that but we still have one who rumbles,
What?
the gaseous creature that wants our files, and security guy.
Lack of stillness.
That was what it was. Well, lack of stillness. At this point, Crinville should have showed up. Actually, he knew where we were going.
Yeah,
So,
well, oh,
and well,
do you
Crinville's
want
at
him
least.
to did you want him to handle the security issues or join you guys?
Well, if lack of stillness, right? Did I get it right that time?
Lack of stillness.
Yay! Okay. If lack of stillness wants to meet head of security, technically, even though Defron has been doing that while we were gone, or at least helping with it, Crinville has the most time here on the station doing it.
All right.
So I introduced them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have stupid side work for you.
Crinville kind of looks at you and goes, And don't forget, we have other things we need. We have other business that needs to be attended to.
I know. Even though we've been here for 2 months, it seems like I have so much to talk to. But we will get it done. I know that I have responsibilities in several areas,
Yes,
but the one before us seems to be of the greatest need at the moment.
he nods. He's like, I understand. And he goes, I'll make sure that we keep the sensitive things sensitive. He goes, I, he goes, but I think like when he meets lack of stillness, when you introduce him to lack of stillness, he's like, I'm Crenville. Our head of security happens to be off station at the moment, and I'll be filling in. Fairly I'm fairly cognizant of his procedures and up to date on most of the security intel around his security information and security systems. If if you'll come with me, and we'll perhaps um, maybe we'll figure out. He goes, maybe we can, maybe I can see what I could do to help you. And lack of stillness is it just kind of says, it's just kind of like, I certainly hope so. And and they kind of, and they sort of like, Crenville sort of leads him off to take, look into the security files and do, the various this is, that's, and the others. But I think as far as it goes, Lixa kind of sticks around, um, although she's very like, she does kind of retain some distance from the proceedings, simply watching patiently. Um,
Well, since she
Zerk,
can see past three-dimensional objects, she's still keeping an eye on.
well,
Understand that.
Zerk, for his part, leaves to take care of some business and comes back.
Mm.
Um, Valen Sur himself has to leave and come back, but he makes sure that he doesn't leave until after Zerk does and tries to make it back before Zerk does, who again doesn't seem to care a lot, which seems really weird for somebody who is really all about creating business opportunities, that he just doesn't seem nearly as high pressure as Valen Sur, who
Valen
is,
Sewer is a go-getter,
yeah, and
and Silver Soul is well, he's new to the company. He's not necessarily new to all of this. He seems to have a amount of professionalism that he takes into account. He knows that he's the better option. He's
oh,
confident. There we go,
he,
cocksure.
yeah, but he seems, he does occasionally try to engage Lixa in conversation, and she sort of deflects him and dissembles whenever, which is kind of interesting to watch because she's usually very direct and to the point. But like whenever Zerk tries to ask her questions and stuff, she'll just sort of dissemble and start off on something that seems to make no like connection, and that seems to make a connection, and then just draw it into a conversation about something else. Zerk doesn't seem to be perturbed by it, and he doesn't seem to be blind to it either. But he just sort of like, it seemed, but uh, he eventually kind of like, pulls back a little bit on this interaction. He doesn't leave her completely alone, but he does pull back a little bit. Um, as far as it goes, Count Lesib, um, looks at you and he's like, "I'm gonna be honest with you." He's like, I personally am interested in buying some ships, deck out my own personal fleet a little bit more. Some specialized things here and there. The Velquin Empire's military production seems to be doing quite fine on its own right now. However, there are some specialized things that there are some things that we may have that we might need some black ops ships made. We might need some black ops ships made. Things strictly off of the books in the record.
Hmm.
Because
We can probably do that for you.
it's like this is however, I can't sign off on the deal until lack of stillness ensures me that there are no security leaks on your end that'll be worrying. He goes, in the meantime, he goes, in the meantime, I have an idea for a. He says, I have some specs that some of my technicians drew up for some attack cruiser, some attack freighters. A very interesting design, utilizing some some proprietary tech in order to make the energy flow more efficient, or so I'm told. He goes, again, I want to be completely certain of everything of your security details and arrangements, but I'm sure since lack of stillness is already doing an investigation, that I'll be satisfied with whatever he comes up with. He goes, he goes, I'll let you, he says, I'll have my assistant forward you the details of the rough draft of the contract that my legal department has written up for the ships for my own personal fleet. He goes, he says, and he goes, as far as the Velquin Imperial, I would have to get back with you. And Quentin Maloon, by the way, finally makes his way here. Count Lessib looks at him and he goes, "Well," and kind of does a sort of you know, a bit of a helpless smile and a shrug, and he goes, "Looked into it. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you." He goes, "If they knew anything, they weren't about to tell me anything. And that particular deal, not going to happen." He goes, "But I may be able to salvage something in the Loofridge system. It just depends on who you're willing to deal business with. But I did get you the one other person you asked for here." He goes, and you hear a voice you recognize from behind him, and it's Sestra. She goes, "I assume I'm welcome, being that I have business here. That'll be enough, Mr. Maloon." She goes, and Quentin kind of looks at Count Lessib, looks at Sestra, and looks at you and goes, "Sestra, the liaison for the Accord mercenaries." He says, and Count Lessib says, looks up and says, "I've been instructed to speak with you about possible contracts for some of your units. We're looking at a rather long and laborious war with the Girin Empire. We could use a few extra troops." And Sestra kind of looks back and says, "I happen to be in the business of providing very, very effective troops." And it's like she kind of looks at you, Philip, and it's like, "May I?" And she kind of looks over at the bottle of champagne on the table,
Dear, it's a diplomatic party.
and she goes, she says, "I was hoping you would say that," and walks over and pours herself a glass and says, And she's kind of like, I'm interested in these. I'm interested in speaking on this. How many units exactly are we talking about? What kind of support what kind of support will they need? Logistics, intel, I'd like to talk details, but for right now, and she goes, let's talk about your situation. And Count Lesub looks over at you and he goes, and kind of looks over you and goes, perhaps we can hold our business arrangement discussions until a more private setting at this point. He says, but I would, but he says, but I would like to get a little bit of general information about your company. And I think she kind of like saunters over and sits down next to him and kind of starts, and is like, well, what would you like to know first? And, unless you have anything to add here, they will sort of engage in a conversation where, like, she kind of tells him an
Everything I already
overview,
know.
like an overview of what her, I
I was
mercenary,
gonna say,
she's company, like they're the mercenary, the Accord is all about and what they do, what they
I
offer.
smile at them once it starts, and I'm like, I've heard this spiel before. I'll come see you before I go.
Yeah. And Kib.
I run over, I jump on top of him, I push him back in the hole.
uh, Kib, you, um, you, what are you doing right now? Honestly.
Well, I figured I was supposed to be part of the meeting, so I made my way through the tunnels there. I just kind of just showed up
Oh,
and listened.
okay. So you like, I think maybe, I think, you were stealth. You roll a stealth when you walked in. So, you know, when you came in, so pretty much everybody kind of noticed you. Um, luckily you arrived after Netrine left. But,
Well,
um, I think, like you kind of see the people that you can see Count Lesib, you see Sestra, you see, um, Lixia, although
Mixer.
you you although I'm not sure whether or not you would necessarily recognize that this is the time dragon,
He definitely filled the aura.
but yeah, you probably feel there's some aura of major impression. And there's let's see, Netrine's not here. Krenvil is already left. Hesha is, taking up position watching personal security for Count Lesib. You recognize her. She's been here. You do get a message um, from like a while you guys are kind of talking here. Like, do you guys talk with do you guys talk about your business in front of these people, or are you going to wait until they're like you have a moment to talk?
We'd wait.
Like we have, well,
Really?
my bad. It's like we like halfway through it, and they're like, well, when he says the whole private thing, I'm like, we do have rooms in the office area that if you would want to discuss more private matters that we could go sit in. Just saying down here. Yeah.
Oh, like he's like Hensha probably like and probably like I will need to coordinate with your security team to make sure the path to this office is secure, and to make sure that the office itself, and I'll need to send someone to make sure the office itself is indeed not bugged and can be used for a private discussion.
We'd take them to the conference room. That's a legit place.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
I will go to the
And just
conference room. I'll take the tunnels, go to the conference room, wait there for the security dude to show up and be like, "Yeah, do your thing," and just
Yeah.
sit there and wait. And then,
Yeah.
like, this is the path that I was having them go. I took a different path because I'm smaller, and that's what I can do, and it's really fun. But the path that he would go would be this way, and I show him on the monitors of the different cameras that we could monitor and make sure he moves safely through from one location to another.
Do you do you do anything special, like have security cordon off, corridors that they're going to be going down so there's no, unauthorized people walking around in them?
Actually, yeah, that would be a good idea. To get a couple of people to set up like standing in a certain corner to make sure people don't do the whole presidential block off type thing.
Right, right. And he is a visiting dignitary from an empire. He's like, um, yeah. So there's a point where they decide to discuss actual business. And he's got and Quindon Malone goes with them. The three of them take to go discuss business. And so where are you guys going to go to talk about your actual issues? Like the rest of
like
the stuff you've dug up.
hmm, operation.
You go back to operations. All right. So you managed to make it back to operations, and Zerk and Valensur have, of course, gone back to their respective business that they're,
Hmm.
whatever they're doing.
Whatever they're doing. At this point, it's like
Um,
10 or 11 o'clock.
uh, they've
So
got unfinished business in and of themselves to do. But
yeah.
you make you're finally alone in operations, and Kib, you've got all this stuff to show to Philip.
Philip.
All right, we got several things. The initial thing is I did the investigation you want. That's kind of cool. Um, and then so somebody is coming.
Oh, where's some of the people that are
Well, it's a representative from
the
somewhere.
Valquin?
Well,
Parallax.
okay. His name is Ambassador Udududu Eldrick.
Wait, isn't the Verlax Concordance the guys that are our enemy?
Nope, that's the Helides, the League of Helides.
No, no, I meant like the other side of the war.
Nope, the Velquin are
This
at war
yeah.
with the Gurin.
Okay, so the League of Helides is sending someone. Okay, I'm fine with that.
No, the League of Helides is not. So the Gurin and the Velquin are at war. The Gurin are the human supremacists. The Velquin are pretty much the Shadow Empire. The Verilact Concordance is a technomagocracy, the place where you guys delivered illegal psychic, glassware or
Oh
psychic
yeah,
that but
and that's
you
who's
didn't,
coming.
and you managed to not get caught there. The League of Helides is where Clutchell and Tiraskild come from.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so but yeah,
yeah, we're in trouble there for sure.
but the Verilax Concordance was where you met Soth King Marantz and in Detalo's dome and got information and sold illegal stuff that they're not aware you sold there. So
Which is
at
good.
this point, but yeah, you're yeah.
So
Do you go ahead?
I go on to say, so this Ambassador Eldrick, and I pull up the file and it shows the holographic image of the dude. So this is the dude that we're gonna have to talk to when it deals with matters of the state. We talk to him. He's a representative of the Verlax Accordion. And this is my bad. this was a file that was actually sent a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure whose fault it was to forward this message to where it needs to, but they're getting reprimanded for that. We'll figure that out later. But
Okay.
it's an important. He's a little technomancer dude, so he's got skills that I do. So it'll be entertaining, I guess. Anyways, what else do we got on the table? Okay, so back to the original thing you had me do. That video footage is funky.
I see.
So,
Yes, at least the one that I watched,
well,
just
even
basic.
in
Can you
that,
show him
so
like the technical breakdown?
yeah, so
Yes.
I pull up the
Or
PowerPoint that I made of it, of the breakdown of what happened in that video, the foreground, the background, that the background is 2 years old, the middle ground, no, the person was a year ago, and the security people on in that video are not really that old. And so I found three other things too. Um, these two other things, all three of them are connected together, and they're on the list. You remember the list of people that are associated with the
I
murray?
recognize the first dead person. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, all three of them are on there. I dug back a couple ways, and those people that were unfortunately died from. I think one of them was like a poison. Like there was one that was poisoned with some rare disease that there was no cure for. But after they died, they created this foundation company to do research for it. You dig like 4 inches into it, and you find out this research company isn't real, and it's actually a shell company for doing whatever. They're not actually doing any research. It's funky, but that's what I did with that research.
Nice.
Okay. Another thing you might need to, I don't think it's a very important thing, but should be in the forethoughts of you care. Remember those people that we built that ship for? The Bent Cage or whatever? That's that
Ah,
station.
Tenvard and his crew.
Yeah.
yes.
So apparently they have been going around attacking prison ships and releasing the prisoners. But nobody can account where the prisoners went. But that's what they're up to.
So they're
I
building
won't
their own
really.
army too. Yay. Uh, the chaos that we have sowed.
Yeah, we made. Uh, yeah, we've done a lot of bad things probably, and whew, that's what I've been up to for a while.
I appreciate
How?
you staying hidden until this point.
Yeah. Well, we
I
gotta
know it's
eventually
hard,
get things done, but I've made bad choices here and there, and hey, at least the files are secure. Nobody else is getting them. We
right?
should be okay. Hopefully.
We
Yeah.
have much to do before we can leave the station and go see Batista. But eventually we need to make it there too. So,
Yeah.
it seems like this is probably a good stopping point for tonight.
All right. Well, there's one last thing. So while you guys are discussing it, you get a message. Like first of all, you get a message from Captain Percival Worthy. Like, hey, Miss Depp. Hey, Philip. I'm a little sorry to bother you, but I'm kind of waiting on a contact here, and they're a little late. And I'm not. If you and he's about to like start talking about the details, and all of a sudden, like all of the like everything in operations lights up, and there's a whole lot of flurry and motion, and on the big view screen, there's like with sort of external cameras, it comes into view two unknown ships firing at each other, and there is some of the laser fire and and like sort of like misses the station very barely. Some of it singes like a couple of those arms and whatnot. But um, the ship that looks like it's more crippled, the ship that looks like it's and it becomes fairly obvious that one of them seems to be pursuing the other one. Um, the one that's being pursued seems to be like the most damaged, but they managed to swing at the very last minute and turn around and flip and hit the ship chasing them directly with a missile and hit the engines, apparently causing some kind of chain reaction, and the pursuing ship blows up. And there's and like the ship that's been pursued, we sort of see like the engine sort of like sputter out, and we see like them kind of drifting. Obviously, some hull integrity problems as it's sort of like drifting slowly closer to the station, and that's where we'll leave off. Um,
We're all
let's get
gonna
sign
die.
off. Let's get sign offs here.
Mm. Well, tonight aka David the Gnome, played Philip Defoe on Free Will Station, and everything has went nuts since we came back after our long hiatus, and we'll have to deal with that. This is the only thing, unfortunately, I'm in right now. Maybe something else soon. We'll see. And with that, on to Psychopathic.
That's me. I'm Scott, psychopath, whatever. I was Kib. Kib's got a lot on his plate because people want him like unalive him, kill him, whatever. They want all the information that he has, and that's weird. And whatever. So Kib's having fun. That's what I'm in, and so I play Kib. Um, Currently, that's all I'm in at the moment until Landsfire Barrier comes back, and then I'll be in that. But that's it for now, and it's all good, and it's fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
Well, that leads us back to me then. Um,
Oh, I voted for Scott tonight.
I feel like that's a little pointless when there's only two of you.
No,
Um,
I voted for
So long as
myself.
so long as it's a unanimous vote, I don't see what the problem.
I voted for myself. Does that
fine,
count?
Kib. Fine, Kib. You can have 50 experience points. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Um, the uh I am the Jester King Zerat. You can catch me here on Monday nights for Freewheel Station. Season 2, kind of a little bit, a little bit of political stuff we're kicking off with here. Let's see where this all goes. Um, in any case, I believe this is the only thing I'm in right now. I keep saying I'm going to try to do something on Sundays. Maybe someday I will. If I do, let me know. And I don't know if you're out there watching us, maybe leave a comment or especially if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment or hey, I like this character or that character, or hey, you suck, or well, maybe don't tell us we suck. We don't like to be told we suck, but hey, whatever. To give us money. Our master of stream is telling me to tell you all to give us money. That's a good rule of thumb. You should all live by that.
It isn't a request. Give us money.
Give us money. Yes. Um, well, I think that's it for your overlords here at Paradise Theater. Let's bring out the dragon and get out of here.
Bring
Bring
out the
out the
dragon.
dragon.
Dragon.